thank you for all the stories that you tell. Thanks for the music.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of the podcast. This episode marks the first in series 8. We've been away for a couple of months and we've recorded 10 new episodes. They will drop over the next 10 weeks every Thursday at midnight, starting tonight with the incredible Karen O. We recorded this at the beginning of the summer, and Karen was here not to do work or to promote anything. She was here on a family holiday, and she still took the time out to come and record the episode that you're about to hear. So thank you to Karen for that. I would love to flatter myself and say that Karen was just desperate to come on our podcast, but she did release a new album this year, so that might have had something to do with it. It's an incredible record called Lux Prima, but it's one that was released, kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. She made it with the producer Danger Mouse, and if you haven't heard it yet, I'd highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of kind of cosmic, Serge Gainsbourg-y, dreamy pop music. That's kind of the where it sits. The pair of them haven't played any live shows yet, but what they have done is create an incredible sound installation that has premiered in LA so far. We talk about that a bit in this episode, and because it's such a kind of visual thing, I'm not sure that either of us really give credit to in our explanation of it. I have put some links in the description of this episode, and along with some other links of the things that we reference and talk about. So check those out to get a better idea of exactly what it is we're getting at. And don't forget that you can support this podcast by subscribing to Loud and Quiet magazine. All the information is at loudandquiet.com/subscribe, where we will post you our next 9 issues for as little as £3 per month. Thanks for doing this on your vacation. It's like,
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, no.
That's commitment to the music.
It is totally commitment to the music. I'm a committed gal, man.
Yeah,
I'm dedicated.
So the last time you were like in the UK, kind of publicly, I guess, would that have been the Yeah show last year at Victoria Park?
Yes. Yeah, that would be right. Yeah, for the All Points East.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did the show? How was that?
That was awesome. That was like, actually, we had like an amazing time for that. Yeah, we just kind of never know what to expect when we've been away for a while, and we kind of come back on the scene, and like kind of fans change and people change, and just don't really usually know who's going to be out there. But it felt like almost like triumphant, for us. Like it just felt so good, and like the excitement was like, it was just like, I guess it was the first year of that festival, and there was like a lot of excitement in the audience, and we're excited to be there, and I'm really happy, and we had some buddies like LCD. It almost felt like old times because we were staying at a hotel, and LCD was staying there, and I saw Bradford Cox from Deer Hunter was staying there. He's a buddy too, and it was felt like summer camp again. Yeah. So it was a good experience. It was really
they did one this year. This year's lineup was a similar kind of lineup. It was like the Strokes and Interpol did it.
Yeah.
And I think the Raconteurs played.
Right. Blast from the past.
It was like a real kind of for some people like a great nostalgia trip.
I know it's
amazing.
Funny. It's weird because we also just did a festival in Long Beach, California. It's called Just Like Heaven, I think is what it was called. But before that, I think they renamed it. Initially, it was named When We Were Young.
Right.
And then they're like, well, maybe that's too on the nose. So and it was like us and like Phoenix and like Beach House and like Grizzly Bear, and it was very, everyone was saying it was very like 2013 or 2011 or something like that. So for me, I don't know, like time goes by, I'm like in such a bubble, like I don't like notice so much that that is equals nostalgia, but
yeah. Last year you played like just a handful of shows with Yeahs, right?
Mm-hmm. It was like a dozen maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you how does that work in terms of like the practicing the set and getting together and rehearsing?
Yeah.
Do you not need to do that anymore?
We do need. We do need to do that. but we've always been like sort of notoriously like kind of like slapdash and like sort of like I don't know, at least that's my attitude. I think Nick is a little bit different these days. He's like he kind of wants wants us to really go over the music and practice it pretty good so that we like represent, we're like tight, but it's like a 5-day rehearsal or something like that after not playing for like 5 years or something like that. So I still think I think that's like not very long, to get our shit together basically. But yeah, we just usually do that, and then like I've always said, like playing just one show in front of audience is worth like 20 rehearsals. Really, it just like just snaps you right back into shape. So we usually try and do like one practice show before we do any big festival again, and usually that just like snaps us back into shape.
Yeah, and it went well. What did you find? You were saying that you'd been away for a while and you weren't sure what the crowd would be or what it would be like when you were walking on, or the day before.
Right.
Did you sleep well the day before?
Actually did. I got a good night's sleep the day before. This is very unusual. Usually I'm a mess, like I like don't sleep well, like I'm like sort of anxious, like usually have some sort of physical malady, that's like plaguing me, and I'm just miserable like leading up to the show, and then the show is like, usually great, and then I feel like basically normal and happy after that.
Yeah.
But this time actually I was in pretty decent shape, considering. Yeah. So I felt pretty good, and then the show felt really good, and I was just like I felt pretty high after that. So.
Did you have like a vision in it? Did you think I think this is going to go like this, or were you just like I've got no idea what's going to happen here?
Yeah. It's just always I have no idea what's gonna happen.
It's always like that.
Yeah, it is. It's always like that, and but the thing is that like I tend to go on stage, like if it's like a huge festival or if it's like just a club show, I generally tend to go on being like with just like I'm like peacock style. I just like those feathers come out, and like no matter what, like no matter how I'm feeling, how terrible or generally, because like the 3 hours leading on to going on stage is just it's hell. It's almost like I've had to write it down in like books to be like remember the 3 hours before, because like when you're in it you just forget, like just like how like painful it is. You're just like you feel like I feel physically kind of sick, like I feel like just like the weight of the world. It's like all the baggage of like the last 15 years of being in a band just is like unleashed on me, and I'm just like, what am I even doing here? Like, it's just like, and that's just how I feel like before going on stage.
Yeah.
And I have to like, and I forget while I'm in it. I can't see the forest for the trees. So like now finally I kind of go, okay, this is just how you feel. But usually I have to ask a few people around me to be like, what am I doing here? And they're like, no, don't worry. This is your process. This is what you go through. But then when I hit the stage, like I'm gonna go out there and I just gonna steamroll. I just gotta steamroll it, and I don't know where that like sort of like false sense of confidence comes from. But then I just like go out there and it's just I get that pow from like just like usually from the audience, just like even just seeing them, and just like feeling that initial sort of like reception. I just like get a pow, and then it's a blur. It's just like no recollection of what happens up there, but. It's just like I'm in the zone. So.
Have you ever watched yourself back on performances that have been filmed? Have you ever seen it?
Tiny little clips, yeah.
Okay.
And it's confusing to me. I'm like, I don't remember doing that. I don't remember being that person. It's just like it's disorienting to watch myself.
Really?
Yeah, totally. It's not something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think it's quite common, isn't it, for most, a lot of actors who don't watch any of their films and things, and. Yeah. I'm sure it's the same for performers who are just like, I don't want to actually see what it looks like, because then
you're self-conscious.
Yeah, and then you might stop doing the things that you do, because you might think, you
start analyzing it a little bit and start feeling like more self-aware, and that's like my whole thing about being on stage is like it's just like that, like it's like that respite from self-awareness for like that whatever it is, like hour and 10 minutes,
Yeah.
like and that's like the greatest gift. One of the greatest gifts I've ever been given.
Who's the best performer you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, there's several people that stand out. I mean, man, yeah. I mean, let me think here. because I'm always bad like when I get put on the spot about these things.
We can come back to that.
I mean, like I'll say, Nick Cave is incredible,
Yeah.
because he has like when the first time I saw him perform, like I'd been watching like videotapes of him in the birthday party when he was like performing back then, and that was like for me, like that was fuel for the fire. It was like I was just chew on that. Like in my early days, I'd be like, oh, he's so like totally untethered and like like unbridled, like insane. I guess he was really really high at the time too. but just like the abandon on stage was just like so impressive to me, and how like carnal it was. I was like, yes. But I'd mostly seen him in that context on like these sort of old videotapes and stuff of those performances, the birthday party. But then when I went to go see the Bad Seeds, it's probably in his 50s or something at the time, and just the swagger, the like just the ballad. I'm a ballads girl, so just there's, I feel like singing a ballad is like, especially as a man, is like the most like kind of badass kind of thing you could do. Like you think, like I think there's like this misconception. Well, maybe there isn't a misconception, but I always thought that maybe there'd be this misconception that it's like badass to be like really punk, or like you don't care, or like like aggressive or something on stage, because I do a lot of that myself. But actually, like what's really badass is like is being vulnerable and singing like a love song or something as a man, and yeah, he's got that obviously like down pat. But yeah, just his overall like charisma and his effect on the audience is incredible. I know that there's been so many performers that have blown my mind. Lux Interior, like totally, I was shocked too, because I think it was like I saw him maybe like in his like mid 50s or something at a club in New York City, so mid 50s, and he had no shirt on, he had his like patent leather pants on, he like climbed climbed some crazy rafters, he was like had his hand down his pants like on the floor, like gyrating, and it's just like I was just like, what is this? This is like insane that he's like doing this now. And it was just it didn't seem like, even though it was like, it sounds kind of gimmicky, it just felt like it was just like so raw and like exciting and like electrical. It's like still at that point.
Him.
Yeah, that really suited him. But yeah, I think like I was like really into like kind of the macho, but like kind of sensitive and super like oozing sexuality kind of front people.
Well, Nick Cave does that particularly well, doesn't he? And he looks so good in a suit and a waistcoat.
He just
He just always looks impeccable. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
How was that?
It's intimidating,
Yeah.
He's a strong presence, he's got like a grumpy grandpa kind of vibe a little bit, where you're like afraid to say something that he'll just sort of be like, huh? That's a stupid thing. Why would you say that? It's like he's a bit like intimidating, but he's like, he's so cool, and like he's like this like awesome dude. But yeah, he's a bit intimidating.
Yeah. In what situation did you meet him?
I met him a few times because like our producer Nick Lane, who's produced last like a few of our records, he does all the Bad Seeds records. So I met him through Nick, but I remember meeting him after like a show that he played here. Maybe it was was it the Forum? I don't know where he played. And I said something really dorky, like, and I was really young at the time. I was like, I don't know, 25, and I said something really dorky, like, but this is genuine. I was like, what do I say to this? Like, I was like, thank you for all the stories that you tell. Thanks for the music. I mean, like, it's so generic, but what else do you say?
He probably he must have liked that. Did he appreciate that?
I mean, yeah, he was nice about it. He was like, oh, okay.
But you were like beating yourself up, thinking, damn, was my chance.
That was my chance, and yeah,
That's
as good as it gets. But that's like me on like everyday level. I'm always like, I could have said something so much wittier. That's how I'm gonna feel after this.
Hey, everyone does that. That's the story of my life, I think. Especially if You know, if someone gives you shit somewhere.
Oh yeah, you just
and you just think you think of the comeback about 2 hours later, and you're like, that's what I should have said. That would have floored them if I'd said that in that moment.
Yeah, and then like sometimes like you think like I don't know if this happened where you try and anticipate like what the question is going to be and you come up with the answer before like you get the question, but then the question never comes.
Never comes.
So you don't have that like you're like all right, I'm armed with this awesome witty response to that question, and then that question never arrives.
So earlier this year you released Lux Primo.
Yeah.
With Danger Mouse. It's quite cosmic and epic, but it's also quite lo-fi in a way. I mean, how would you describe it?
I mean, I think like it seems to me like kind of I use the word lush, you know, because there's definitely kind of moments of lushness. I say it's kind of you know, one of the most boring ways to describe something is cinematic these days, but really, you know, I think where Brian and I overlap is kind of our love for like, I don't know, like, you know, French and Italian, like, you know, cinema from like the 70s and the 60s. So like, and there's just like, you know, like a kind of tone and feeling about that I feel like we were trying to emulate a little bit. I say, you know, I've described it as like kind of a mix between, and I've never was like a kind of a big Floyd person, but there's like, you know, it seems like there's some touches of Floyd meets Phil Spector kind of thing. And Phil Spector, even though his stuff was really lush, his wall of sound, there almost is like kind of a lo-fi vibe to some of the way that his music sounds. Maybe it's just like I hear like, you know, shitty masters of those songs, but you know, there's like kind of like a fuzziness and like a sort of, there's like a lot of character in the way that, you know, his recordings sound sometimes too. So all those things come to mind.
Yeah, and there's kind of got that Serge Gainsbourg kind of
feel
to it.
Yeah.
Which
is awesome too.
Which is really great. Yeah, of course. And I read that you, in terms of meeting Brian, aka Danger Mouse, you drunk dialed him. Is that true?
Dude, believe it or not, I hardly believe it myself. Like, because like I had no recollection of that, and then he like brought that up during a New York Times article, and I was just like, and it
that must have been where I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and then like in the farthest recesses of my mind, there's just like a little bit of like a little twinkling, like, oh yeah, like I think that did happen. I think I did do that. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that I can't remember where I was or under what circumstances, but yeah, I think I drunk dialed him, and usually when I drunk dial someone, it's like, yeah, I'm like really happy-go-lucky with like tons of like, we're gonna make something amazing together. It's gonna be the best thing that ever happened, and then like I sober up and either I don't recall doing it or then I like sort of really regret. You know, regret doing it in the first place, but yeah, I think that's probably how it kicked off.
Sure, because it was quite a long time ago, right? It was like 2000 by his recollection, 2008, something like that. Yeah, maybe.
He says 6, and I think it's more 7. Yeah.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So this would have been
or 8.
This would have been around Show Your Bones.
Yeah.
That's where you would have what you would have been.
I think it was probably after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just called in to say, hey, we should make some music together. This is going to be amazing. So it's obviously taken quite a while. You made this record last year, I presume?
It was actually 2016. It was mostly done in 2016.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, wait. Yeah, 2016, 2017. Yeah. Yeah, over 2016, 2017.
I think it's in that same interview. It's a New York Times interview, right? Where do you describe him as a macho? As like a really macho.
Oh yeah,
as
a dude.
Guy.
Yeah, He's kind of like a dude. Yeah.
I was surprised to read that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think just looking at him, I wouldn't have. I don't know. He looks so cuddly. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Cuddly?
Do you not think?
Yeah, I guess.
Have I got that wrong?
Yeah, no, I could see how he's little. Yeah.
I'm sharing too much now, aren't I?
Really good posture for like a cuddly guy. I always think of him as quite like, I wouldn't say like stiff, but I would say like, maybe good posture, erect. But like, no, he's, wait, sorry, what was the question?
Well, I was just saying that maybe I'm confusing the fact that he's got a beard with making him seem cuddly.
Oh, cuddly, yeah, the cuddly, yeah.
But does he? But he's quite a macho guy, right?
Oh, the macho, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I didn't see, like, Brian and I, like, we only hung out, like, we kind of would cross paths. Nick from Yayas and him were actually, like, rolling deep at one point in New York. Him and Aziz and Ansari, the comedian, and Brian would go out, and this is not well known, but, and they would, like, that'd be, like, their bro posse.
That'd be their gang?
That'd be their gang, and then, like, yeah, they'd go to clubs, like,
That's an interesting
bar,
gang.
like, bar hopping and, like, kind of picking up, ladies. And I was like, anyway, I could never, like, I had trouble being like, really? Like, they were, like, scoring chicks. I just didn't seem like the crew, anyway, but yeah, like, so I would kind of run into him, like after a gig or we would just sort of, so I didn't really know him very well as kind of casual, acquaintance, for those years. And then I kind of got to know him, when we were making this record. And yeah, he's very much like a guy's guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like, watches like a lot of sports and,
Okay.
Is kind of, he's just like into, he's a very masculine fella.
Is
Yeah.
Nick like that as well then?
No.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I would presume. I would presume they kind of like the
Nick
fact
doesn't
that
ever watch sports. He watched Nick's like, he's a goth. He's kind of like he's just like a goth.
and he's got his photography and all of those.
Arty goth. Dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of those
The
two
three of
and
them.
Aziz Ansari
the love of
going.
music, the music is like, that's kind of like, Aziz thing, I'm not sure, that's like left field. Aziz has been like, he's a huge music fan too, so I think maybe he got pulled in that way.
Okay.
Maybe. But Brian knows a lot of different people from all walks of the entertainment industry and the world. But he was kind of a dude. So when I was working with him, I felt kind of like I was breaking some new ground. He's worked with women before, but to do like a full record.
Yeah, not like this though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had a positive influence on him by the end of it? Did you feel like had you softened him a bit?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I did.
Before it's become a live thing, you did the exhibition. It's kind of an installation.
The installation, yeah, the encounter, as we call it.
Which I saw a video for, a trailer for.
Oh,
Is it finished now, the exhibition?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was quick. It was
And it was at, I've written this down, it was at the Marciano
Art Foundation.
Marciano Art Foundation
Yeah.
in LA.
Yeah.
And it looked incredible from the film
Yeah.
that I saw. How would you, to anyone listening to this that didn't see it or might not know about it, how would you describe what it was, what the actual installation was?
Right. Okay. This is where I do it no justice, but I'll try my best. For one thing, we were like, above everything else, it was supposed to be like kind of a listening, like a communal listening experience where, the thought was like people maybe like less and less these days are kind of getting together, hanging out and listening to like a record, right? So this is like our version of that, like on steroids and maybe like some hallucinogenics or something. So we wanted to bring people together to sort of bliss out to this music. And so we partnered with Meyer Sound, who like kind of basically designed this whole, sort of audio setup. So you're totally engulfed. Like you're kind of surrounded, like quadraphonic sound. You're surrounded by the sound, so you're kind of hearing it travel around this amazingly big room at the Marciano Museum. And it's also, we had a centerpiece, which was this like monolith, which is also sitting on top of like all these sub speakers, and there was a speaker hanging above it as well. So it was like completely surround sound. You're engulfed in the sound, and it's also just like kind of coming at you. So listening to something like, it's like kind of how you, I guess, listen to films to a certain degree these days when they have like kind of the surround sound. But like, you just don't usually hear music like that anymore, especially even when you go to like a concert, you're usually kind of, looking at a stage and like the speakers are just kind of pointed at you and you're just like hearing it like, coming straight at you. But this is like, you're just completely engulfed in it, right?
Sure.
And then we had this guy, Davey Evans, who does like, this really amazing macro photographic, photography and art really just textures, and it's amazing because like with some, and they're all, and it's not, none of it's, CG, it's all just like, natural. So he'll like, he'll have like, he did some textures of like just like freezing some water, and or like, actually he uses like some nail polish and stuff like that, and he like and he like does this macro photography of it, and it literally looks like the, like the aurora borealis or like the constellations. Like it's so evocative of like some cosmic stuff, and also just like organic stuff, like maybe like lava, or like the beginning, like the sort of like the dawn of time, on Earth, like a planet forming, like all those sort of phenomena. And so we were projecting that like onto this monolith, it kind of comes to life, and like it just starts like the surface of it just starts like slowly shifting, and like kind of like almost like subliminally, and then it kind of like it evolves, like what happens to it. But it's just like, it's almost like, it's like experiencing like the beginning of the world or something like this, right? And then we had like Tobias, who's like this incredible like lighting artist who like lit the room. We have like lasers that are cutting through the rock at moments where it just feels like you're in that film 2001. It's just like it was like it was such a trip, let me tell you. And and there's like this very, very special moment during the song Reveries, which is like incredibly sort of starts a very intimate song on the record, but like it's vast, and it feels like it's about like the theme of it feels very like like meeting your maker to a certain degree. It's like it's like meeting the end to a certain degree. And there's a moment where we have like this rain that just starts falling in the room, and like it's lit by by this laser light, and it looks like diamond rain falling on like and you're inside this room, but it feels like you could be like, I don't know, just like sitting outside in some very special place, just totally like engulfed in sound, light, and like and like you can smell the rain falling on the rock. I mean, it was something. it was something like pretty magical in that sense,
The room that it was in on the video I saw looks absolutely huge.
It was huge. It was a huge room,
like a massive room.
Yeah.
And would people like buy a ticket and come for a viewing? Like,
yeah, there was viewings. Yeah,
and stay for the whole record.
Yeah.
The whole show.
Yeah, it was awesome because, well, for this particular, incarnation of it, tickets were free, so you just signed up for it. And there was like 4 viewings a day, and like, you kind of like be like an hour between coming in and like having the experience. It was like around 45-minute like experience, and then leaving and stuff. But like, but yeah, I mean, people would like kind of leave in a total daze.
Yeah. Be spat out back into the real world.
Yeah, into the world. But you just retain a bit of of that with you. And it was I gotta say, it was like it was like a momentous effort to get this made, because like it was basically hadn't been done before, and like, and the questions usually I was like, so are you gonna be playing like live to this? Like, actually, we're not gonna be there, but yeah, like it took a lot of like leaps of faith for like people with money to, because it was really expensive too, to like just want to make it happen, and it was just so much. It was just like so much went into just trying to get it made. But we got there, like kind of like I say, it's like I kind of manifested it in this crazy way, to a certain degree, and I invited David Lynch.
Oh yeah.
And
what did he make of it?
And he showed up, which is insane because he just doesn't go to like anything.
Do you know him?
Yes, I know David. Just from like a few things we did. I did Pinky's Dream on his Crazy Clown Time.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he showed up, and I ran into him right before like it started, and I like brought him to his seat. It was like in the dark. It was like about to start, and I was like, I had this like long like golden dress on. I was like, basically like every step was like a hazard, just like I was gonna trip over myself while I was escorting David to like this bench next to my parents, actually in the dark as it was beginning. And he wrote me afterwards, and because I did I bounced as soon as as soon as it was over. I didn't want to see anybody or hear anything. But he wrote me after that, yeah, he loved it, and he was just like, he's oh god, I can't. It was like he's like fantastic dream pop, like dub like wild crazy. I don't know, like he speaks in David Lynch slang, but but him being there was like, it was like, like thank you heavens for for bestowing David Lynch upon this project that we've worked so hard to create. It was super special. But like yeah, like I really hope we can bring it to London. So yeah.
Cool. I was gonna say you have to take this around, right? Because there's just been so much work put into it.
So much, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, it's just yeah, we're figuring it out. We're figuring it out. It's just and I have faith that we'll be able to bring it here. It's super rad.
Would it mean you having to fly that massive rock around?
Yes, but it's actually a replica, that rock, of the real rock. Yeah, because the real rock is 12 tons.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's feasible.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah.
The and you kind of put this together on the Skywalker Ranch, right?
Yes.
Which is George Lucas's mega kind of mixing facility.
Yes.
Is that just north of LA?
Yeah. No, it's north of San Francisco.
Okay, right. So it's up in Northern California.
Yeah. It's like where the Ewoks live. Basically.
Yeah. What was it like going there? Are they what is?
Oh my god, it's amazing. Yeah.
Are you a Star Wars fan at all?
Yes, are you kidding? I mean, not as big of a fan as my husband Barnaby, who creative directed this, but still, like.
Was he freaking out? He was
he was freaking out.
Crazy excited.
Yeah. The first thing that we did is like you check in, at like the sort of welcome house. It just like, it feels like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it kind of feels like the Shire or something. It's like, it's just like this world unto itself with this like kind of its own like, it's its own little city, nestled in like the redwoods. It's really beautiful. And yeah, the first thing that we did is like when we arrived at the welcome house is like they make you sign in. And you sign in with these like Skywalker Ranch pens,
Right.
And everyone just like kept the pen.
Too right. Like, I'd be keeping everything.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, what is legitimate for me to take with me?
And we were talking about how like, I don't know, like, if you remember Charlie, like was it Wonka? What's it called? That.
Oh, Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie and Chocolate Factory with Gene
Hackman.
Gene Hackman, right?
Gene Hackman?
Yeah. No, not Gene Hackman.
No, not Gene Hackman. Gene Wilder. Gene Hackman as Willy Wonka would be another film.
Yeah.
That would be another film.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah. So, like, at the end of that movie, for the people who don't know, who are too young, who haven't seen that, they got, like, this gobstopper at the end, right?
Yeah,
and,
the never-ending gobstopper.
Yeah, and, like, and the reason why Charlie gets to run the factory is because he gives his back at the end. And so we were thinking, like, about the pens, like that's how they decide if, like,
you inherit it.
if you're ever welcome back, is if you steal the pen that you check in with, the Skywalker pen that you check in with, and then that's kind of the end of your relationship with Skywalker Ranch. But we all stole them anyway because
of course.
And then they just like you could buy them at the store. But it was super special being there too, man. It's just like they've just like every movie they've mixed there. It's just been insane. And we stayed in like the Federico Fellini room, which is pretty rad.
Oh, cool. Okay,
every
so they
room
got
has like a
themed
director's name to it and stuff.
So it's not all because in my mind it would have been themed.
Oh, from Star Wars.
So, like you're in the Jabba the Hutt room.
The Jabba Hutt. No Jabba room.
Is there any kind of? I suppose they need to be quite careful of how much kind of Star Wars stuff they put. They don't really want that, do they? It would be a bit much if you went round and there were logos of, the toilet doors were like of Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker. That would be too much, too Disney-fied.
Yeah, it was actually they're pretty low key on the Star Wars.
Quite subtle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so what was the Fellini room like?
It was cool. It was just like, huge Fellini posters. There's like huge movie posters everywhere. The most beautiful ones you've ever seen of like, all like the best, like the most like kind of classic directors and films and stuff. And like, yeah, it's all like kind of, like it's a lot of wood and a lot of logs and really like, just like super homely and just welcoming. It has like a camp vibe to it. Like, sort of, I don't know if you guys have summer camps here so much, but like it had like a summer camp, kind of vibe to it.
Our summer camps, if they still exist, are not quite on a par with yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the US summer camps are like beautiful, and they're in like beautiful forests.
Yeah.
And you've got log cabins, and they're
yeah.
cozy and
Yeah,
homely.
canoes.
And as a normal, what I'm thinking of are holiday camps more, I guess, which are like normally in rundown seaside towns.
Oh, right.
Where it's torrential rain most of the time
Okay.
that you're there.
Sounds fun.
And you're in like a chalet with which is essentially like a motel. Like they look like motels.
Right, motels.
Really
right.
thin, really
right.
thin
No,
walls.
that's where all tomorrow's parties.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got
That's our
Yeah.
closest. That's what.
Okay, that's
we don't
different.
really have the climate for real camping.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
with tents and
wood
and all
yeah,
of that.
Yeah.
Last year I did a California road trip as my holiday, as my
that's
vacation.
awesome. Yeah.
And we went down the Highway 1 through Big Sur.
Ah.
And I was like,
incredible.
it's
magic,
it's
man.
just incredible.
It is, yeah.
But I've seen shots of the Skywalker Ranch, and that's further north, isn't it? As you say, it's above
San Francisco.
it's above San Francisco.
Yeah.
But it does look like the Ewok village, doesn't it?
does,
Like it's quite
yeah.
woody and
It totally does, yeah. And yeah, the gift shop's kind of amazing there. They even like sell their own like Wagyu beef, I guess.
Oh right,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
They have I guess they have cows there that the Skywalker cows. It's like, and everyone looks very happy working there.
I bet, yeah. I
I'm
can't
sure there's
believe it.
drama, but you don't see it on the surface. It just looks very like utopian. you know? Yeah.
It's like that thing in Disneyland. How I read this thing about Disneyland about how, because it has to present itself as this heaven on earth kind of place.
Yeah.
You'll never see anyone empty a bin in Disneyland.
Mm.
They empty them from underground.
Oh yeah, right.
Because they don't want someone ruining the vibe. Like you're skipping through Disneyland, having the best time of your life, and you're with Goofy or whatever, and then you see a guy like hauling a bin out and all of this kind of rubbish falling on the floor and scrabbling to pick it up. So they cut all of that out by doing it from underneath, which is just that amount of effort to protect the brand. I think is kind of quite impressive and quite crazy.
Yeah, it's very American. That's American vibes right there.
Yeah. Paint over it.
Paint over it. Yeah, I'm not exactly it's sort of the sort of smoke and mirrors. Everything is awesome.
Yeah. In terms of exhibitions and installations at museums, do you get to go to? Do you go to many? Do you get to go out to? What's the big museum in LA?
There's LACMA, which is really awesome. It has a bunch though. LACMA, MoCA. There's the Getty. But LACMA is the one we go to the most, I think.
That's the one with all the lights outside on the pole, the street lights.
Yeah. It's really cool. And during the summer, they do like a free jazz night every Friday night. That's like pretty fun to go to. Just usually go with with the family. Not that much. I don't get out that much though.
Yeah. Did you manage to see the Bowie one?
No.
I don't know if the Bowie one even came to the States yet. Maybe it was just before he died. It was about the year before he died, I think. It was at the V&A here.
I saw it at the V&A here, yeah.
Yeah. With the headphones where it kind of walked you. It basically, you went and you were given headphones, like you are in most museums, but instead of keying in the number as you get to them, it knew where you were in the room and it would just start playing you that piece.
Right.
It was incredible.
Yeah. I vaguely remember. I think we might have been mixing a record. Was it like 2012 when I was here, or no?
Yeah, it might have been as early as that.
Okay, yeah.
It was definitely at least a couple of years before he died and stuff.
Yeah.
Were you a big Bowie fan? Are you a big Bowie fan?
Yeah.
I find that I actually am sadder now listening to Bowie than when he first died.
Yeah. You feel the
at the time when it happened, I was kind of like, well, these things happen. It's going to come to us. I was quite pragmatic about it all.
Yeah.
But now when I listen to David Bowie songs, I'm more affected now than I was then, I think.
Yeah. I could see that. That kind of talent and that kind of that kind of artist just is just doesn't come around,
That's
anymore.
it. It's kind of done. Yeah,
That's done.
it's so sad.
I mean, he did pretty good. He definitely left his mark.
Are there any of those greats who are still with us that that when the time comes you'll be particularly like gutted by, like any
Of music artists?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, because Leonard went recently. That was I felt that one for sure. And Lou, I felt that one a lot.
Did you ever meet Lou Reed?
No, never met him. Came close, but I kind of chose to not do that.
To not do that, yeah. Was that just because you were like, I've got in my head what Lou Reed is, and I don't want to...
and his reputation was pretty bad for for being like pretty ornery and stuff, and I was like, I don't want him to yell at me, and then I mean, I would have been fine with that, him yelling at me, but I was just like, I just didn't, and I just also didn't have anything meaningful to say, to him so much, but I felt that was like a pretty big blow for me. And then let's see who else.
No, this is the thing, isn't it? We're kind of running short. I think Iggy Pop's a big one that people will feel. Yeah. I like that the podcast and now just descended into me and you talking about who's going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
This is really cheery.
We can switch it up.
No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have brought it up. I've gone straight for the death chat. Talking of Lou Reed, though, I recently watched your cover of Perfect Day.
Oh,
that
cool.
You did.
Oh,
That's really great.
Oh, yeah. Thanks with Danger Mouse. And Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so it's like really sparse. I like how kind of that's what I liked about your Crush Songs album.
Oh yeah.
Is that kind of really simply accompanied, which I guess you do more of now. Like in your music, you kind of put your voice kind of a bit barer out there.
Yeah.
Do you find that easier as you get older?
I guess so. Yeah, because when I started, I the whole reason why I started singing was because the whole way, like the sort of the way that I started singing was through through a toy megaphone that would distort my voice so much that it just it almost felt like my voice was an instrument, right? And that's like sort of what got me even just got this whole style that I did with the Yeah, like the vocal style was because I started on a toy megaphone, and so I always had this sort of disconnect because of that between my singing voice and sort of just thinking of it as my voice, I guess. I just felt like it was this sort of instrument that I played to a certain degree, and then I think between Crush Songs and the Moon Song and some of this other just sort of maybe just living having lived and doing music for a while it's okay to be naked out there and stuff, But I think it's it's kind of people don't remember because it was never really put out there. But Nick and I started, making music together before Yeah-Yeahs with what we called unitard, which were kind of these sort of little love songs that I had written just on acoustic guitar. So it's kind of my roots is that kind of sound, But then I kind of moved away from it, for a while, and then kind of I'm returning to it here and there. So yeah.
I saw Lou Reed perform once, just the one time. He was really, he was in a really angry mood. It was one of his angry days.
Right.
I'm sure there were some that weren't angry days, but it was quite hard to watch. He spent a lot of time shouting at the band, yelling at particularly the guitarist. There was something going on stage he didn't like.
Yeah.
That he didn't like.
Right.
And he was letting everybody know about it. And then he got round to a Velvet's track. He might have done Sunday Morning, but he did it in a really bizarre way. I've
checked out some of those covers. There's some of those song versions where I'm just like, what the?
Like a really contrary way of being like,
I think that's kind of cool too. I'm like, I would never have the balls to do that with one of my own songs. Just sing it in this way that nobody
nobody wants.
That's what kind of what I love about him the most, really.
That bloody-mindedness.
That is that. When all of us sort of quote unquote rockers, or rock stars, trying to do what we're doing. There's the ones like Lou who just didn't. I mean, it just didn't. It's just he just kind of set the bar and he was that. He just was that. He wasn't posturing or posing as anything but himself in that way. He was just such an original, like true. Yeah, it's just like yeah, that impresses me the most. Just like just sort of how he didn't give a fuck really, to a certain degree. He must have given a fuck, but how he for the most part it didn't seem like he did. So, yeah.
Anyway, good night.